Infinity Nikki Photo Guides Chapter 1 Composition. Good day, fellow Infinity Nikki gamers and photography lovers. Today we are going to break down the basics of composition to take your photo skills from O to Pro. Composition is essentially how you choose to capture the various elements in a scene in order to create a pleasing image. But before we can delve into what these tricks are, we need to understand the basic layout of a photo. A photo comprises of some form of focuses, aka the main attraction in the image. These may be Nikki herself, an animal, a mountainside, a leaf falling through the air, anything that you find interesting and feel should hold the spotlight, so to speak. Keep this in mind throughout the process, as not only is it your most important component, but it will determine how you arrange the rest of your shot. The second aspect of a photo is fore, mid, and background, referring to the depth of the image, i.e. foreground is what is closest to you, mid is halfway, and background is the farthest objects captured. Recognizing this, we can make an educated decision on where your focus should lie within the composition. So how do we create a quality composition? We do this utilizing geometry, format, and perspective. Geometry refers to the shapes we can find within a scene. Aligning your shot up in such a way to capture certain geometry can form a sense of flow that is pleasing on the viewer's eyes. There is a variety of geometry that one can employ, from framing to patterns to thirds, etc. But let us start with the easiest first and graduate to the more complex aspects. Thirds is probably the best place to start, as most photos incorporate thirds to some extent. It is also the most basic principle. Thirds is exactly what it sounds like. It splits the photo into 3 equal parts, either horizontally or vertically, or even both. Orientating the focus or certain elements along these thirds generates not only a balanced appeal but an engaging design. For instance, placing Nikki on 1/3 not only displays more of the background but causes the viewers to scan across the image. Note that Nikki should be placed gazing forward or into the rest of the shot, the other 2/3, as placing her in the other direction can make the image feel stagnant or cut off, which is rather jarring on the eyes. Unless this is your intention, but we will be covering aspects like these in chapter storytelling. Framing. Framing makes use of any structural forms within the composition which surrounds the centerpiece. It not only can add depth with numerous layers, but encircles your focus, directing the viewer's gaze inward toward the subject. Anything from curved branches to window frames to lights to more obscure abstract objects. I'm pretty sure one of IN's perspective photo challenges incorporated framing at some other point. Let me know in the comments if you remember what it was. As with any structure, shape, form, or mass come lines. Lines can be distinguished throughout any piece of work, whether it is painting, sculpture, portrait, landscape, architecture, product design, video, game, they can be found. But are you aware that the way they are lined, contorted, angled, intersected can have a drastic effect on how you feel and perceive that artwork? Lines are capable of leading the viewers to stare towards the subject or away. We call this leading lines in photography. They can evoke certain emotions through the use of smooth curved lines or sharp jagged ones, or create consistent geometric shapes throughout an image to create a harmonious effect. Every single edge, border, stroke, chord, cease, wrinkle, stripe can impact the image's overall feel. We will be covering evocative concepts in further detail during the chapters color theory and storytelling, so follow if you would like to learn more. Speaking of lines, employing triangles and diamonds both create dynamic tension, a feeling of movement. This is caused by the diagonal lines that are found in both, which our brain naturally relate as motion. As a photo is a moment frozen in time, adding that component of movement establishes interest factor. It is fundamentally contradictory. Both also create visual flow, guiding the viewer's attention through the scene. There is a myriad of ways to utilize these shapes, from framing to placing your subject and key elements on the corners to making up the shapes with masses and lines, i.e. the horizon of the ocean meeting up to a mountaintop. If by any chance you like math, then you most likely have heard of the Fibonacci spiral, or the golden ratio. Due to its mathematical accurate structure, this is not only perceived throughout nature, but can be employed in photography to create a harmonious and balanced feel. As it is a spiral, it can produce a natural flow for the viewer to follow, with the focus usually drawn towards its center. Asymmetry versus symmetry. Most of us can find beauty in symmetry. It is balanced, harmonic, and orderly. This is easy to digest for our eyes and mind. It makes sense. But asymmetry, captured well, can create just as a striking image as the prior. Learning to place elements of differing lengths, colors, textures, lights, placing focuses off center, etc. in a pleasing manner can feel more natural as opposed to staged or overly composed. This can bring an image to life, give it drama, create tension, possibly between two parts, imply movement, and so much more. When it comes to these two, it just depends on what the general feel is that one wishes to achieve. Do you want tension or harmony? Dynamic or balanced? Drama or orderly? Speaking of orderly, our last point on shapes is patterns. Patterns are visually pleasing as they are just that, orderly. Repeating colors, shapes, and lines create an image that our brains can predict as we glance over it. This can create a feeling of ease, familiarity, a rhythm. When we break that rhythm by placing an element amongst these repeating patterns, it can feel quite jarring and, as such, can be employed to design a rather striking photo. Again, the choices depend on what the end goal is. Now that composition has been covered, it is time to consider the format of each photo. This entails portrait versus landscape and close-up versus wide-angle. Most of the time, portrait is associated with close-ups and landscapes with wide-angle, but you can interchange these. This will become more apparent with learning each's particular traits. Landscapes, for instance, cover a wide scene, which is perfect for capturing large groups of people, scenery, motion that moves across the space, or horizontal lines. Whereas portraiture emphasizes height, such as a person, buildings, waterfalls, etc., i.e., vertical lines. Close-ups portray intimacy, whilst eliminating unwanted elements that would distract the viewer. It is often used for fine detail, textures, macro photography, think blown-up images of a small object like a weave spider, single subjects, or headshots. While wide angles cover a large area with either an immense focus or many smaller ones. This can include vast spaces, settings far off in the distance, scenery, or many elements that depict a story. This last one is often applied in documentary-styled photography. Perspective also plays a key role in composition and storytelling. Most people, when they whip out their phones, just take a shot from eye height, but taking a photo from different angles may have a drastic impact on the feeling it evokes, size relation, and even distortion. Getting low and shooting up, for an example, can be a great way for capturing height and portraying dominance, whilst a low ground level shot is used for capturing smaller animals, toddlers, i.e. seeing the world through their eyes. Shooting straight down from a height, aka bird's eye view, generates magnitude, which conjures emotions of feeling small and insignificant. From these heights, the world appears vast and different, a variety of shapes and patterns that would not be discovered otherwise. Forced perspective is an aspect that Infinity Nikki covers in their photo challenges. This technique utilizes angles and distance to conjure illusions within a scene. A great example is the caged bird challenge, where you must align a bird in the background with a cage in the foreground to make it appear as though the Avarian friend has been captured. Not once, but twice, by cage and camera. Excuse my dad jokes. The Leaning Tower of Pisa is another great case. There is 360 degrees to play with, so there is a lot more that can be done with perspective. But this is a start. I will be covering more on perspective at a later stage. Otherwise, just be prepared to play, explore different angles, places, and structures, but most importantly, have fun. Soxy Rabbit, snapping out.